What's up guys, it's Mike for SimRacing604 and today I'm reviewing the Thrustmaster T248. Let's do this. Alright guys, so let's talk about this Thrustmaster T248 wheel and pedal set. This aims to compete in the entry to mid-level sim racing wheel market. Let's talk about what's included. The T248 package includes the wheelbase, the wheel, and the T3PM pedal set along with all of the necessary cables to interconnect the devices. It is compatible with PC, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5, and it connects to them via a single USB connection. It's due to be released to the public this month, and the MSRP is expected to be 400 US, 350 Euro, or 300 British pounds. And in the interest of disclosure, this unit was sent to me for free to review. And we'll start off by talking about the wheelbase. The T248 is what Thrustmaster calls hybrid drive. Most of us categorize sim racing force feedback wheels as either gear, belt, or direct drive, and it would be safe to put this into the belt category. The word hybrid actually refers to the mix of belts and pulleys. The wheelbase is about 70% stronger than the T150 and TMX, so that means it comes in around 3.5 Newton meters of torque. Alright, so first impressions of the wheel, I mean, not great. It's all plastic. I mean, it's a nice design, but it is all plastic, so it makes you think, how reliable is this wheel really going to be? But the wheel itself is quite interesting. In design, it's clearly inspired by an opal steering wheel, and there's a lot going on here, so if you're a fan of simplistic design, you're out of luck here. But in terms of functionality, the wheel is pretty awesome. There's a lot of buttons, so you can map just about any car function you can think of, and the real magic is in the display. You can use it as a tachometer or speedometer, or to watch what gear you're in, or a number of other pieces of information while you're driving, and I see this more as something that looks cool on a store display, or something your friends will find cool as they watch you drive, rather than something that's actually useful while playing. I think most of us would choose to use a heads-up display in game rather than glance at our wheels, so it looks cool, but to me it's not particularly a useful function. But thankfully that's not it. This is also where you can change your wheel settings before you jump into the game. You can choose between PC, PS4, and PS5 modes. You can change your degrees of rotation, select one of the force feedback flavors that are pre-programmed into the wheel, and these are functions that we normally get to use software for to control on PC, but to have that level of customization on console and right on the wheel is great. And keep in mind that racing telemetry is still a work in progress as far as compatibility with games, and a few I tested with didn't work yet, but Thrustmaster is adding games frequently, so I suspect that by the time this is on shelves, it'll have telemetry available for most or all of your favorite racing titles. Another nice touch are the magnetic shifters. They might make shifting too loud for some people, but the concept of putting magnetic shifters on a mainstream consumer grade wheel I think is fantastic. But again, they are pretty loud. Take a listen. So what are my impressions of how the T248 drives? Well, I'm very impressed, to be honest. It's much smoother, much more powerful than my G29. It's not even close, actually. I can't imagine going back to driving my G29 after driving this T248. The force feedback is much smoother. It definitely lacks a lot of the detail that my AccuForce direct drive wheel has. I'm not putting it on par with that, but in terms of the entry to mid-level market and my wheel, my G29 wheel that I usually use for testing and for PlayStation use, the T248 is just on a much higher plane. And the pedals as well are very, very impressive compared to the G29s. Again, I have higher end gear that I compare it to. In this case, it's my Heusinkveld SimPedal Sprint, and it's not that. It's definitely not that. In fact, it's a notch below the Thrustmaster T LCM pedals, which are the $200 load cell pedals that Thrustmaster makes, and you can plug it into this wheelbase directly if you so choose to upgrade in the future. But yeah, it's not on that level, but the pedals are fine. They do their job. There's good resistance in them, and the accelerator and the clutch are very smooth. But the wheelbase is what really impresses me with this. It's so smooth. That hybrid drive system, as they call it, is very smooth, very fast reaction, and overall I'm just very, very impressed with the T248. The force feedback is set very high out of the box, and it's too strong for me, frankly, and I had to turn down the game in the games I tested. It's great to know that the wheelbase has that much power available, but I found driving it too effortful, and dialing it down to about 30 or 40% got it feeling right for me. At that point, there was decent curb detail, and I could still turn the wheel very easily. So to wrap up this review, the T248 has taken over as my number 2 wheel and pedal set. My main rig is still going to utilize my AccuForce and Heusinkveld combo, but my beloved G29 has been replaced by the T248. I really think this is a wheel and pedal set that deserves some serious consideration for those in the entry to mid-level sim hardware market. The immediate comparisons will be to the G29 and G923 from Logitech, and along the way somebody is, I'm sure, going to compare this to the CSL DD. I don't own the G923, but I've watched many reviews and comparison videos, and it seems to be almost the same unit as the G29 that I'm very familiar with, but it comes in at a price that's the same as the T248. So based on that presupposition, I feel the T248 is a better option versus the G923. The G29 can still be found in your local electronics store as well as your local classified section, and often for half the price of the T248. So at that point, you need to ask yourself what you're willing to spend. If the G29, G923, and the T248 are all in your budget, my recommendation, based mainly on the force feedback quality and the feel of the pedals, is to go with the T248. But for those on tighter budgets, the G29 is an excellent option and something I've personally owned for years. The concern I have, the big question in my mind that would swing me back to Logitech, is the build quality. The T248 has so much plastic on it that I'd be concerned about things breaking, and my G29 has been a workhorse for years for me, and there's no guarantee that the T248 would be. Maybe every owner would get 10 years of service out of their T248, and maybe not. So the long-term reliability of the T248 is still to be proven, but based on my experience in recent weeks, it's the better option of the three wheels. And regarding the comparisons to the CSL DD, I don't think there's much of a comparison to be made, frankly. I also haven't been able to try out the CSL DD, but from speaking to friends in sim racing, it's a tremendous piece of gear, and the price of the T248 and the CSL DD base are comparable, but if you need to add in a Fanatec wheel and pedals, it's roughly twice the price of what you're going to pay for the T248 bundle. At that point, you'd have a great direct drive setup, so again, it comes down to what you're willing to spend. And the other thing to consider is compatibility. At the time of this writing, Fanatec's CSL DD doesn't have a PlayStation compatible equivalent, so if you're on PS4, PS5, and PC, you might want to go with the T248. So overall, guys, very impressed with my T248. I think at this price point, for an all-in-one wheel and pedal set that's compatible with PlayStation and PC, I mean, this is my new go-to for sure, so I'm happy to recommend it to you guys. That's it. Thanks so much for watching, and the T248 will be on sale very, very soon. And drop a comment below if you plan to buy it, or if you have any other thoughts you want to share. Thanks for watching.